ago, after we discussed what John Wheeler was and what he really had did. He was a physicist, and his discoveries of participation in the quantum field of the observer, being that the people were really needed and not just subject to, but were needed in the influential of using and still creating as creation still marches on. And then we discovered how the elite use us to create their reality that we now live in this 3D quantum field of their crap reality that benefits no one but always deceives and pushes forth entities who are not to be praised. And we went into the different aspects. But without further ado, I told you I wouldn't talk much because we're going to go in, because I got a video to share with you. And it is 42 minutes, whether I do all 42 now or I cut this into two, which I may do. Let's go, and we're going to just jump into this now.
To know, but our windows were so old and just desperately needed to be replaced.
Role here isn't small, it's cosmic. And your life isn't meaningless. It's the reason anything exists at all. So the question is no longer, what's out there? It's, what are you choosing to bring into existence right now? For centuries, science insisted that reality was fixed, separate, and indifferent to human thought. You were born into that narrative, taught that you're a speck floating in a vast, impersonal cosmos. But John Wheeler didn't see it that way. He wasn't some fringe mystic or rebel outsider. He was a Princeton physicist who worked alongside Einstein, mentored Richard Feynman, and coined the terms black hole and wormhole. Yet in the final decades of his life, Wheeler came to a radical conclusion. The universe is not complete without the conscious observer. That's you. He called it the participatory universe, the idea that observers are not passive recorders of a pre-existing reality, but active participants in its formation. And he didn't mean that poetically. He meant that your very act of observation, your awareness, brings the universe into being. It's not just that you shape your perception of reality, your perception shapes reality itself. Look at the double-slit experiment, the cornerstone of quantum mechanics. When particles are not observed, they behave like waves, existing in all possible states at once. But the moment you observe them, they collapse into one position. That's not interpretation, it's data. Observation changes outcome. And Wheeler went further. In his delayed choice experiment, he proposed that your observation in the present could even determine the path a particle took in the past. In other words, not only are you shaping what's real, you may be influencing what has been real. Time itself bends to the conscious act of inquiry. The implications are staggering. If a single act of observation can shift the trajectory of particles and outcomes, then what about your thoughts, your beliefs, your choices? What else are you shaping by simply being aware? The reality you experience is not just unfolding before you like a movie, it's unfolding because of you. And this isn't confined to lab experiments or microscopic particles. This idea that the universe waits for you to observe it echoes through everything. The job offer you pursued, the relationship you chose to nurture, the conversation you started or didn't, all ripple with unseen potential until you engage. The second you observe, choose, act, it collapses into reality. And if that's true, then the question you've been trained to ask, what is...
This company is going viral for its new
Sorry about
process that
that.
gives
I'll
you
get
permanent
these
teeth in just
freaking
24
commercials out as
hours.
soon as-
If you're
The universe may have always been the wrong one. The real question might be, what is the universe asking of me? But here's where it gets interesting. Some ideas are too disruptive to be fully explored on platforms like this. That's why we go deeper inside Insights Academy, our free newsletter for those seeking hidden truths. Tap the link in the description to sign up and get your free digital copy of The Kabbalion, limited time only. You weren't put here to spectate. Wheeler's vision turns your life into a cosmic inquiry. You're not just a person trying to survive in a chaotic world. You are the mechanism by which the universe learns about itself. Think about that. The stars didn't just explode into being. They evolved over billions of years into a system that could one day ask questions about itself. And those questions came through you. In Wheeler's words, we are participants in bringing into being not only the near and here, but the far away and long ago. That means the past is not fixed, the future is not written, and the present is not neutral. Everything is in motion. Everything is influenced. Everything is waiting on you to choose. Even the atoms don't know where they belong until you look. So imagine what your attention does at scale, in your relationships, in your society, in your future. You've spent your life being told the universe is indifferent. But Wheeler argued that it may, in fact, be deeply relational. That reality isn't a thing, it's a conversation. And you've been speaking it every day without realizing. Every time you focused, decided, believed, you shaped the moment. You didn't just live through it, you helped bring it into existence. The real question is, now that you know, what will you choose to observe next? You've been trained to think of reality as something out there, something external, fixed, and fundamentally separate from you. A world made of stuff, governed by hard laws, unaffected by your existence. That belief is the foundation of what we call objectivity. But what if it's not just inaccurate, it's the very illusion that's kept you small? John Wheeler shattered that illusion. He dismantled the notion that reality unfolds independently of the observer. To Wheeler, the idea that the universe could exist without consciousness wasn't just outdated, it was scientifically flawed. Traditional science framed consciousness as a glitch in the machinery of the cosmos, a side effect, an accident. But Wheeler's work shows that consciousness is not a byproduct of matter, it's the missing ingredient in the equation. Without it, the equation doesn't work. He argued that the act of observation doesn't just register what's already there, it actively brings things into being. You are not observing a finished reality. You're part of the mechanism that finishes it. Consider what this means. If no phenomenon becomes real until it is observed, then what you call objective reality is incomplete without your subjective experience. The wall, the tree, the light from a distant star, all of it depends on observation to be defined. You are not a spectator, you are a defining force. Wheeler once wrote, "The universe does not exist out there, independent of all acts of observation." He meant that literally. Reality as you know it is not a thing, it's an interaction, a transaction, a loop that includes you at every step. This doesn't mean that nothing exists without humans, but it does mean that what reality becomes, what it resolves into, is inseparable from how it's observed, interpreted, and measured. Even in quantum physics, the behavior of particles is dictated by whether or not they are observed. That's not philosophy, that's data. And what it suggests is radical. Reality isn't just waiting to be seen, it's waiting to be shaped. This shatters more than scientific tradition. It breaks the mental prison you've likely lived in your whole life. Because if reality isn't fixed, if it doesn't unfold on its own terms, but instead interacts with your awareness, then everything you thought was unchangeable suddenly becomes fluid. Your circumstances, your limitations, your past, your future. None of them are set in stone. They're all dancing at the edge of potential, waiting for the observer to define them. And you've been taught not to trust that, not to believe in your role. You were handed a worldview that
I want to invite you to a free trading and investing workshop right here in Orange County that will forever change.
glorifies external facts and mocks internal truths. You were told that what matters is out there, in the data, in the numbers, in the institutions. But Wheeler's work calls that bluff. It says, no, what matters is in here, in you. The observer is the axis on which the universe turns. You've likely felt the quiet sense that something in life doesn't quite add up. that maybe your thoughts matter more than they should, that maybe the world shifts in ways too subtle to explain, but too real to ignore. That intuition wasn't fantasy. It was you brushing up against a truth you weren't yet allowed to claim. A truth John Wheeler spent his life trying to bring into the light. Reality is not independent of you. It is interdependent with you. If science once told you to distrust your role in shaping the world, Wheeler offers you permission to reclaim it. Not as some spiritual ideal, but as a scientific necessity. Without the observer, there is no outcome, no out there. Just possibility, undefined, unresolved, incomplete, until you look, until you choose, until you think. And in that act of observation, the universe folds itself into form. So next time you look at your life and feel trapped by the weight of what already is, remember this: what is was shaped by attention, and what will be is still soft, still forming, still responsive, and it's waiting. Not on fate, not on chance, on you. You've been conditioned to think that consciousness is the final byproduct of some ancient chemical soup, an accidental flicker that came too late to matter. Before you, there were galaxies, black holes, stars, and atoms, all ticking like gears in a machine. That awareness, your awareness, is just a ghost in that machine. But John Wheeler's view dismantles that story at its core. Because if observation is what crystallizes reality, then consciousness isn't some late-stage glitch in evolution. It's the original interface. It's the source code. And you've been living as if you're irrelevant to the program. Wheeler's participatory anthropic principle takes this even further. It suggests that the universe required observers in order to come into existence at all. That without conscious beings to look back on the cosmos, there is no meaningful way to say the cosmos ever existed. This flips everything on its head. Instead of consciousness arising from matter, Wheeler proposes that matter arises from consciousness. The observer doesn't just witness the universe, it activates it. This isn't just an intellectual exercise, it's the fork in the road between two entirely different ways of living. If you accept that your consciousness is fundamental, not accidental, then everything changes. You stop acting like you're a victim of reality and start behaving like someone who is co-creating it. You stop looking outward for truth and begin looking inward for authority. You start to understand that awareness itself is not inside the body, it contains the body. That the world doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. That idea might sound radical, but it's been echoed in mysticism for thousands of years. Hermetic texts, Vedic teachings, esoteric philosophy, all have whispered the same secret in different languages. The observer and the observed are one. As within, so without. All is mind. What makes Wheeler's voice unique is that he wore a physicist's badge. He came from within the establishment. He spoke the language of science, and yet he pointed to the same truth mystics died protecting. When Wheeler said, "No phenomenon is a phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon," he wasn't just describing particles in a lab, he was talking about the fabric of reality itself, that until consciousness engages with the world is incomplete. That means your awareness isn't riding on top of matter like a surfer on a wave. It's the ocean. It's the condition for form to appear at all. And yet, we live in a culture that ridicules this, that tells you to be rational, to seek evidence, to separate mind from matter. But what if the mind is the evidence? What if the separation was the lie? You've been taught to put consciousness last, to see it as an epilogue, a byproduct, a shadow. But it was never an afterthought. It was the first spark,
Yes.
the ignition, the unseen force that turns raw potential into experience. Look at your life. Every moment you've ever had, every joy, failure, heartbreak, and breakthrough, all of it has passed through the filter of your awareness. Without that, there's nothing. Without the light of your consciousness, even the most vibrant sunset is just photons scattering off dust. Even the most profound idea is nothing more than silent static. You are not on the sidelines of existence, you're at the center of it. You are the projector, not the screen.
Yes.
So the next time you feel small, insignificant, powerless,
This was what I was talking about. We are vital. We aren't just here trying to get on the ride. We definitely have our place in co-creator, and we've been numbed down to think we're freaking crawling animals living from a lower sense of self. And while this system is produced its crap and has flipped us into a lower state of being, we're the vital ones, not them. They used us to create the reality of humdrum that they create, plastic and water. What kind of being are you? And we really have not taken that force and grabbed it. It's time to grab it. If we can succumb their script, rip that thing up, and create our own of unity oneness, that's the way we should do. Unity oneness, but we have to break the one thing, and that's the division. We, even within ourselves, we can only have power over division within ourselves. We bring forth the more unity, the unity becomes conscious.
remember that your very ability to be aware of this moment means you're shaping it. You are not the side effect of a distant explosion.
That's what I'm saying.
You are the reason anything can be known at all. And once you grasp that, you stop asking,
Get off this commercial.
Max
as soon as
brings a
possible.
lot
Good
to
stuff.
the table. There's really endless amounts of data that one can really
what's the meaning of life? And you start asking, what am I willing to bring into being? There's something deeply unsettling
Yes.
and wildly liberating
Yes.
about realizing the universe doesn't truly take form until you pay attention to it.
Yes.
It means that everything you think of as solid, permanent, and unquestionably real is, at its core, suspended in possibility.
Yes.
Not predetermined, not fixed, just waiting. You've been told to believe in the solidity of the world, that things are there whether you engage with them or not. But in quantum physics, that certainty collapses under scrutiny. Because at the
Completely.
most fundamental level, particles don't behave like tiny marbles, they behave like clouds of potential. They exist in a spread of possibilities until an observer enters the equation. And then, only then, they decide who they're going to be. John Wheeler understood this better than anyone. His work didn't just touch on the observer effect, it demanded we rethink what observation really means. It's not just looking, it's participation. Wheeler's experiments showed that even when we think an outcome is in the past, our present interaction with it can change its story. In his delayed choice thought experiment, the act of choosing whether to measure a particle as a wave or a particle could retroactively determine what it was, even after it had already decided. The past, in this view, isn't locked. It's fluid. It's part of the loop, and you're in the loop with it. So what does that mean for your life? It means the story you've been handed, that the world is a set stage and you're just an
Ooh.
actor walking through it, is not only disempowering, it's false. You are not walking through a finished world. You're helping finish it. Every time you observe, believe, expect, or decide.
Help finish it. And this is how they hijacked us. So we help finish their reality that we see they want to manifest by the 2020 crap and stuff before that, all the way to the 2030 of all this stuff they stated they wanted, from the World Economic Forum to all the stuff in between, to the, blotting out the sun by Boopagook in Seattle, and all the stuff they've said they want. I see our power is to get into unity and start being what we are. We're the projector. You take the projector away and say, no more, no more. We're not doing this anymore. And that means quit participating in a lot of their dog-ass, if you know what I mean. Because that's how they hijack in all their division stuff. Let's go.
You collapse waves into form. That's not poetry. That's physics. And it doesn't stop at electrons. Your mind isn't just thinking in a vacuum. It's shaping what you will and won't see next. Even your own future, what you assume is already in motion, is dancing on the edge of uncertainty, waiting for your focus to define it. But the system didn't want you to know that, because a society that understands the participatory nature of reality is a society that no longer fears it.
What he's saying is, when Wheeler found this out, the elite is what he's telling you. The elite realized that if this gets out, this is like the awakening. They realize they're the creators through the science now, just not through mystics, which in spirituality awakening, they start understanding, whoa, things ain't what we thought they were. Let's start creating our reality, right? And we have the power to do it because this is what he's teaching. That's why it's barely mentioned in books. They don't want it totally published because it takes away their raunchy power that they feel they have because of what they are, who they are, and the entities they are. This goes right into the archons to me, into the demiurge, because in that story, they realize that you're greater than them.
When people realize they're not victims of the world but co-authors of it, the entire structure of passive compliance begins to fall apart. Look around. Most of what you experience daily was once imagined by someone. The buildings, the laws, the technology, the stories, none of it arrived on its own. It all came into form through thought, observation, repetition, and belief. And yet we've been taught that imagination is for children, that dreaming is indulgent, and that vision is naive. Why? Because they don't want you to understand the terrifying truth that what you focus on becomes more real, that your inner world leaks out into the outer one, that even so-called nothing has no stability until you give it attention. This is why the voices of conformity are always so loud, because if they can get your focus, they get your influence.
Stealing your
If
energy.
they can direct what you see, they can decide what takes shape in your life.
Create
And this
the
isn't
reality
just
you
spiritual
create for them.
speculation.
Yes.
It's how the architecture of attention works. The news cycle, the school curriculum,
Come on now.
the economic stress, all designed to narrow your lens,
Yes.
to funnel your observation
Yes.
into pre-approved areas,
This is what I'm
so that
talking
you
about,
continue to
folks.
co-create the same broken structure you were born into. But now you know. You know that even emptiness is unstable until you arrive, that nothingness waits for your signal, that silence listens for your voice.
Yes.
You are not here to observe the world as it is. You are here to influence what it becomes. Wheeler didn't need mysticism to prove it. He just followed the data all the way to the edge of reason and beyond it. And what he found wasn't just physics, it was responsibility. Because once you understand this truth, you can't pretend your awareness is casual. It's creative. You can no longer shrug off your impact, dismiss your instincts, or ignore the pull of your own vision. You are the observer. And because of that, you're the one turning a soup of quantum uncertainty into something tangible. You are the reason matter finds shape. You are the voice that turns silence into form. So the next time someone tells you that what you think doesn't matter, that your focus is weak, that your dreams are irrelevant, remember what Wheeler discovered? Even nothing doesn't exist until you look. So imagine what everything could become if you dared to look with intention. The universe is not a completed story with you trapped inside the final chapter. It's an unfinished sentence, and it's been waiting on you to speak. This was John Wheeler's most revolutionary idea, that reality isn't fixed, but participatory. It doesn't fully exist
Participatory.
until consciousness engages with it. You're not just observing a cosmic drama from the audience seats, you're part of the cast, the stage, and the script itself. Every choice
Take
you
over the
make,
script and
every question
love
you
it.
ask, adds a stroke to the canvas of existence. Wheeler believed that the universe wasn't just shaped by physics alone, but by questions. That asking is a creative force, that the very structure of reality responds to inquiry, to curiosity, to attention. The act of asking, what is real, isn't passive. It's a trigger, a catalyst. Every question you've ever asked, from what's the meaning of life, to why do I feel this way, echoes out into the quantum field. The cosmos listens. It adjusts. It aligns. He saw the universe as fundamentally incomplete without consciousness, without a participant to reflect, interpret, engage. It remains potential, not presence. Wheeler didn't believe the Big Bang was the beginning of a finished product.
Come on now, Mr. Wheeler.
He believed that the universe may have needed observers to even come into being in a meaningful way, that the past itself isn't solid until the present looks back at it. It's not a straight timeline, it's a loop, a dance between awareness and unfolding.
Sanchez said, remember
And
that
you're in
day?
the middle
Sanchez
of that
said,
dance
loop,
whether you realize
not
it
a
or
line.
not.
My work is
Not
easy
a
because I
line.
use
Let me-
ClickUp.
I'll get the
Here's how I
smirks
keep
off
track
real
of
quick.
all my tasks.
Real quick.
I start by brain dumping everything I need to get done in a list view.
This isn't the language of mysticism. This is physics, daring to look beyond the boundaries of its own discipline. When Wheeler spoke about law without law, he was pointing to something deeper than any formula. He was describing a universe that writes itself in response to interaction. That doesn't follow rigid rules until someone is there to engage with them. You're not born into a game that's already over. You're shaping it with every blink of consciousness. But how does this translate to your daily life? It means the mundane is never just mundane, that your thoughts aren't floating in a vacuum, that your struggles aren't isolated or pointless. Every belief you hold, every perspective you carry, these aren't internal whispers. They're commands that influence the shape of your external world. If reality needs the observer to manifest outcomes, then you are, by definition, a shaper of worlds. You don't need to be enlightened, perfect, or trained. You just need to be aware. And once you begin living like the participant Wheeler described, the entire lens shifts. You stop waiting for permission. You stop asking whether you matter.
Yes.
You know you do, because your very
You're the
noticing
main deal.
gives
You're the
reality its
main
form.
deal.
And in that knowing, you step into a different kind of power. Not the kind handed down by systems or titles or applause, but the quiet, unwavering power of presence, of engagement, of choosing to show up fully, knowing that everything you bring your mind to begins to solidify into reality. It's humbling, isn't it? To realize the universe might be incomplete without you. To understand that your presence isn't just a footnote, it's a fundamental part of the plot, that you are, in a very real way, the answer it's been waiting for. So what is it asking now? Where is it still unresolved, open-ended, waiting for your observation to lock it into place? Is it in the conversation you haven't had? The truth you haven't spoken? The leap you've been hesitating to take? Those aren't small decisions. They're the hinge points where a different reality could take root. Wheeler's physics doesn't just invite you to reflect, it challenges you to participate.
Yes.
You are the mirror in which the universe sees itself. The question it posed to create life.
Stop there. We're going to do a part 2. I wanted to stop with the statement just made. Let me go over to here. We can stop sharing. I wanted to go right what he just said, to participate and be the creators you are. I see the hijackers now. We're the real deal of who's supposed to be here and what the real deal is. Anything else is hijacked stuff, because this is why the jealousy of a jealous God. The jealous God or jealous entities are jealous of me and you. That's why they just divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide them. That's the only game they got. If we come to unity and take our rightful place of what he says, but we're going to continue. We're going to continue with this video. On the next, we're going to do another part with the rest of this video, which has got about 20 minutes left. All right. And I'll get right into it once we start.